Alright guys, so today I wanted to talk about Nintendo's next console, the successor to the Nintendo Switch. The Switch 2 or whatever the hell you want to call this thing in the meantime. Since not too long ago Nintendo did confirm that they do plan on actually revealing this thing sometime before the end of this fiscal year. Which I think the fiscal year for them ends in like March or April or something like that. So sometime between now and like the first part of next year is when they're actually going to show this thing. So it should be on store shelves sometime in 2025. But I've just been thinking about this lately and thinking about some of the things that I expect to see out of it and some things that I hope to see. And I just wanted to talk about some of that here today. So I got my Nintendo Switch in 2021, I think it was. I got the OLED model, and overall, I am very satisfied with it as a console. I do think it is a good device. It's obviously been a massive success for Nintendo. They've sold what I think like 140 something million units of this thing by now, some crazy number like that. I think it's actually within like the top 3 best selling game consoles of all time now. So, obviously a massive success for Nintendo. It is the first, home console handheld hybrid, which is a great idea that I do think they executed very well. And that is something that I expect they will continue with the Switch 2. I do think it is going to be another hybrid console. I think they'd be crazy to abandon that idea with how much success they've had with it. So I expect that the Switch 2 will be that same hybrid situation. Now, in terms of like specs and hardware and stuff, I'm not going to get too much into that because, frankly, I don't care too much. Obviously, it's going to be a step up in terms of power. That's a given. I don't think it'll be a massive step up. It's obviously not going to be on par with, things like the PS5 or Series X or anything like that. But it will be more powerful than what we have now. It'll be able to run, larger, more complex games and stuff like that. So I think it'll be fine. I'm not particularly concerned about it too much. I don't give a fuck about, my 4K or anything like that. As long as it looks relatively nice and, things run smoothly on it, that's good enough for me. Which I don't think there'll be any problems in that area, Pokemon aside. Nintendo's first party stuff always looks very good. And Switch has been known for being very easy to port stuff to. So if that trend continues as well, then we should get plenty of third party support for the console. And as long as the third party companies actually take the time to optimize their games properly, then it should end up looking fine. However, the one big thing hardware wise I do want to mention here is backwards compatibility, which I know is something that a lot of people are very focused on, which I do hope that the Switch 2 is backwards compatible with all Switch games. I think it should be, and honestly, I think it will be. Nintendo, in general, they don't have a perfect track record, but overall, they tend to do a fairly good job in terms of backwards compatibility. I do expect the Switch 2 to still be a cartridge-based console, so I don't think there'll be any like compatibility issues. Like obviously the Switch isn't backwards compatible with the Wii U, but that's because the Wii U used discs and the Switch uses cartridges. So I don't think they'll be switching up their medium again this time. We might get higher capacity cartridges or different kinds of cartridges. But having the slot on there in order to physically insert your Switch games into it shouldn't be a problem. So I do expect backwards compatibility. And beyond that, I actually expect and hope that they will do something that they've done several times in the past, where they actually make that backwards compatibility on a hardware level, which is something that I think is really important, as opposed to, just making it compatible via emulation, which is how the PS5 and Series X handles its backwards compatibility. Which is something Nintendo has done a lot in the past. Like if you look at, for example, the GameCube compatibility on the Wii, or the Game Boy Advance compatibility on the DS, things like that. All of those were done at a hardware level. So when you play those older games on it, you're actually technically playing it on original hardware. You're not emulating the old console through software. So that's something that definitely helps with compatibility, and helps you avoid a lot of issues with the emulation and things not looking right and things like that. So hopefully that will be the case with the Switch 2 as well. Now, another thing I wanted to mention here was the UI for the Switch, which is something I've seen a lot of people kind of shit on, which I don't actually mind the Switch's UI. It is very simplistic and very plain. It would be nice if we got a little bit more customization options on the Switch 2. Even if you just had like more colors for your background. Something as simple as that would be pretty nice. And also, I wouldn't mind seeing something a little more lively, I guess, for lack of a better term. Even something just like, adding some background music to the home menu, to the eShop. That old Wii Shop Channel music is iconic for a reason. So adding something like that to give a little more life to the console, I think, could be nice. And one option I'd personally like to have is, for one, having your folders on launch, not through an update that comes years later. I don't know why this is consistently a thing that takes so long to get implemented. But have folders be a day one thing, and have a way to have like the default view of your home screen be your folders. Because the way it is now on the Switch, in order to access that, you have to like go all the way to the end and hit all software to be able to access your folders. So giving you an option where you can customize the order of your games on your screen and have it, as your initial view when you boot up your console would be something that I would personally like. But beyond that, the number one thing I actually hope for out of this new console, which honestly I think this is probably a stretch, I'm not expecting this, but I am absolutely hoping for it, is that they bring back the Virtual Console, which was absolutely one of the best features for the Wii, Wii U, and 3DS, and it was completely abandoned on the Switch, instead being replaced with, the Nintendo Switch Online subscription thing that gives you access to a lot of the older games, NES, Super NES, Game Boy, etc., etc. Which is fine if you want to do that. I'm against the whole subscription bullshit entirely. Like, if it was up to me, I'd say scrap that entirely and just give us fucking free online like it should be in the first place. But we all know that's not going to happen, because that ship sailed when people let Microsoft get away with it back in the mid-2000s, and now here we are. So that, unfortunately, is not going to be the case, since that battle was lost long ago. But if you insist on having your stupid online subscription thing, and you want to make a lot of, free games available on there to incentivize people to buy into that subscription service, that's fine. But just make all those games available for individual purchase on the eShop as well. Which is something that I actually have to give credit to Sony and Microsoft for doing, since they have their PlayStation Plus and Xbox Game Pass subscriptions, both of which entitle you to, a library of older games if you subscribe to whatever tier or whatever. But all those games are available individually on their respective stores. You can buy the old Xbox and Xbox 360 backwards compatible games on the Xbox store. You can buy the old PS1, PS2, PSP games on the PlayStation store. At least most of them. I'm actually not totally 100% sure if they're all on there, but I know at least a chunk of them are, because I've seen some of them when I've been browsing the PS store. But they have all those for individual purchase, and they also have the option of where you can just play them for free if you are subscribed to whatever tier. So giving people the option is very nice, and it's something that I absolutely wish Nintendo would do. Even if you have the online service and you're paying for the subscription, I'd still like the option to be able to purchase them, since down the road, when that console is no longer supported and those servers are cut off and that subscription is no longer a thing, then you will 100% lose access to all those games if you don't have that option to purchase them individually. We could purchase them all individually on the Wii, on the Wii U, on the 3DS, and that was a much better model, in my opinion. Of course, all those servers are cut off now, too, so you can't buy them anymore. You have to sail the 7 seas in order to get them on there now. But still, I much prefer that to the subscription model in terms of just longevity and being able to still have access to those games after those servers are not supported. But yeah, overall, that's pretty much my thoughts on this, which again, it shouldn't be too long before we actually get some hard info on this. So we'll end up seeing how it goes. I could get into like my whole hopes as far as what games get released on it and all that, but I could go on for hours on end about all that. I will say that it'd be nice if we could get a Pokemon game that doesn't suck 12 bags of dicks, but that's a rant for another day. So anyway, I guess that's all I got to say. So lots of luck to you and yours.